So my name is Jona Olafsæter, and I work as a coordinator for the Nordic Council of Ministers program on nature-based solutions, and I am based at the Environment Agency in the Faroe Islands. I also lead the Network Nature Nordic Hub as a side project, but my full-time job is to coordinate this Nordic program on nature-based solutions, which consists of 6 different projects in 7 Nordic countries. I have a background in public administration. I studied at Roskilde University in Denmark, and from the 1st of January, I will start on a PhD at Aarhus University, where I will identify barriers to implementing nature-based solutions in Denmark. So in my current job as the coordinator for the Nordic Council of Ministers program on nature-based solutions, I lead and administer 6 Nordic projects and 8 pilot projects, all on nature-based solutions. And I manage a total budget of 3.8 million euros. Which is a lot in the Nordic Council of Ministers, and they are very different, these projects. So the first one is to map what we know about nature-based solutions in the Nordics. And then we initiated these different pilot projects where we test some different nature-based solutions in 7 of the 8 Nordic countries. And right now we are making 2 handbooks to make it easy for politicians and governments to implement nature-based solutions in the different municipalities across the Nordic countries. Also, we have a project which is about making an evaluation of the 330-300 rule about trees and green areas in cities. We're looking very much forward to publish that report in a month or so. A significant part of my job is to connecting the different groups on these different projects. So the steering group, the secretariat in Copenhagen, and the researchers who work on these different projects and project leaders. And a lot of my work also consists of distributing the research results. So communication is a very big part of my job as well. I've always been interested in the connection between people and nature. And I grew up in a very small village in the Faroe Islands. There live now 18 people, so it's a very small village. Very close to nature, and my grandfather always told me everything about birds and flowers and so on, but that's what I know about nature. So I'm not a biologist, but working with biology is very inspiring. So when I studied public administration, I didn't know that I would administrate nature. I started as a political advisor. That was my first job after I finished studying. And if you asked me 10 years ago where I would be today, I guess I would say that I would be a politician. That's what I thought I was going to do. I also was a part of the board for the leaders and the labor organizations in the Nordics, which gave me some experiences from Nordic cooperation. And that inspired me to work with Nordic cooperation. So when I saw this job about coordinating a nature program for the Nordic Council of Ministers, I found it very interesting, and luckily I got it. And in the beginning, I felt like I was visiting this world of biology that I didn't know anything about. And I also felt it like a gift to get to know so much about nature. So it's been a very inspiring trip these past 4 years as I've been coordinating this program. Luckily, a part of my job is to get to know more about nature-based solutions. And what I really like about working with nature-based solutions is that when you work with nature-based solutions, you work with so many different things simultaneously. So you have the nature part, the environment part, and you also have the social part. Like it's important for people and people's well-being, for communities, to have nature close to them, and that's really inspiring in my daily work. So a typical working day for me is, I would say, 50-50 administration and communication. I travel a lot, and when I travel, I participate in different conferences and events around the world, presenting the results from our projects within this program. But when I'm at the office, I I also do a lot of administration, like responding to emails from the project leaders and the steering group. I spend a lot of time on Teams. So I'm based in the Faroe Islands, which is very remote. But in these days, when you can work from Teams and Zoom and so on, it makes it easy to cooperate with people from all around the world. Also, I'm preparing presentations, but I also do like writing meeting minutes and planning next meetings and accountants and so on. And planning and sharing communication is also, yeah, a big part of my job. The key skills in my job is, as I said, a part of my job is administration, a part is communication. So the administrative skills are like to manage the tasks efficiently, and also to schedule meetings and having like the big picture from the whole program. I like to call it the helicopter perspective. That's a very important skill to have in my position. I feel like it's sometimes a little bit underestimated, but it's extremely important. So when you have some biologists looking at some very detailed part of the different projects, it's also extremely important to have a person who have the overview of the different administrative tasks that are essential to get these projects to run fluently, to ensure a smooth office operation, and also to support team productivity. So when you work with communication, it's important that you have knowledge on how the audience will respond to the communication material that you produce. And I have a background also in media. So I've been a freelance writer, and makes it easy for me to write text about the different research projects. But also when you work with researchers, they know a lot about their projects. So my task is to make it simple. And that's not always an easy task if you're a researcher and you have all these details that you want to communicate. So in that sense, it's actually it's very good that I'm not a biologist, because I know how a person who's not a biologist what they need to know, or how they would like to receive the communication on a very complex subject. It's both internal communication between steering groups and secretariat and so on, but also external communication, especially external communication, and to reach out to the different municipalities who need to implement nature-based solutions, a lot more nature-based solutions in the future. When it comes to personal skills, it's important to know how to work with people, make sure that everyone is included in the different processes. Also, it's very important to know how to prioritize tasks and to meet deadlines, and to be structured in your work with the accountants and yeah, and to make sure, always think ahead. So what's the next meeting and when do they need the material for the meetings? And when do we need to communicate what and so on? Again, to have this helicopter perspective in the job is a very important skill. The most rewarding part of my job is to know that when I sit at this office, looking at Excel sheets and sitting on Teams, a lot of the time I actually work for nature and for people. And that's a reward for me to know that I work for nature, people, which is a big part of working with nature-based solutions. So even if I'm not outside in the nature every day, it's not a part of my job to actually be outside in the nature and see nature. I feel like I do something great for nature. And that's a big reward in itself. But if I should look at it from a personal perspective, I feel that when I got funding for my PhD, I felt rewarded for my job. So I've been working with this program on nature-based solutions for the Nordic Council of Ministers for 4 years now. And I feel like I managed to shed a light on the results from the Nordics on this topic. And also somebody trusted me enough to fund a PhD project on this topic. And that's also the biggest reward for me. It's always challenging to work with different groups of people. So my leader here in the Environment Agency in the Faroe Islands is one of my leaders. I also have a leader of the steering group, which the steering group is based in all of the different Nordic countries. That's one challenge, that people working with this are in different countries. And another challenge is the language part of it. So English is my third language. Second language is Danish. I also speak a little bit of Norwegian, but my first language is Faroese. And not a lot of people understand Faroese, so I don't use that language so much in my job, but I use it every day at home. So in my job, I mostly use Danish and Norwegian, but also English when I work on a more international level. Generally, it goes well, but sometimes when we have these Teams meetings with people from the different Nordic countries, some of them don't understand Danish and they need to do it in English. And sometimes they understand Danish, but they only speak English. So we try to do it in the Nordic language on our meetings. But when one person switches over to English, the other tend to do the same. And then we try to go back to Danish or Scandinavian, and which means that sometimes we can use two languages throughout a whole meeting. And that can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So I would say that the language barriers in this job is one of the biggest challenges, but it works. And the most important thing is that we understand each other and not that we speak fluently. So my best advice to students is not to be too set on a career path that you should follow. So it's important, or at least if you ask me, I think it's important to have a goal, like what do you want to do, and try to work for that goal. But it also to be open-minded if there should be other possibilities. As I said, if you asked me a couple of years ago, I would say that I would be a politician right now, but I'm not, and I'm very happy about it that I chose to grab this opportunity and work in Nordic cooperation, because it has given me so much, and I learned a lot about nature. And I also think that it's important to say yes to challenges, step out of our comfort zone, because every time we step out of our comfort zone, we grow a little bit. And remember that the first time we try something, we need to give ourselves credit for just doing it, no matter the outcome, because only after we've done it a couple of times we can begin to set performance expectations for ourselves. The first time I was in a panel, I felt that it didn't went so well, but I told myself that I did it, and that was an accomplishment in itself. And I really think that there are too many people don't push themselves to do something out of their comfort zones because they feel like they are not perfect at it. But I just feel that it's important that we do it and let ourselves grow that way in our career. Otherwise, we will stop up somewhere on our career path. If you want to continue to learn and to grow throughout your whole working life, that's my best advice. Step out of the comfort zone once in a while. My advice to teachers and parents to support their children is to make sure that they choose a career path that they like, not to think so much about status and so on, but to choose a career that is meaningful for them. We only live once, and we spend a lot of time on work. Most of us work 8 hours a day, and that's a big part of your life. So it's very important that you choose to do something that you like to do. So that's my number one advice for parents. But that being said, I also think that's important to advise children and young people towards a career that gives them the opportunity to live a good life. So if you want to be an artist and you're not so good at drawing, maybe that's not the best idea for you to do, because it would be very hard to make a living. To balance what can give you an easy life somehow, where you can make a living out of doing something that you're good at, but also what the world needs, something that's meaningful for you and for the community that you live in. I think the Japanese call it ikigai, where you try to find something that what the world needs, what you're good at, and what somebody is willing to pay you for. Help kids and young people to find the ikigai